we understand that there are a lot of people who practice law, who have good answers, who can do the job we do, although we think we have some specialists that are not found elsewhere. But it's really important for our clients to like us, to like working with us, and for us to like working together.
Welcome back to the Law Firm AI and Scaling Playbook, a podcast for forward-thinking attorneys. I'm your host, Jamie Stewart, and today I'm joined by Marc Zwillinger, founder and managing member of ZwillGen. Over the past 15 years, Marc has built the firm into a nationally recognized boutique, known for its culture-first growth and innovative subsidiaries. A leader in privacy and data security, he's now at the forefront of AI governance and innovation in law firm practice. Marc, welcome to the podcast.
Pleasure to be here, Jamie. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to have you. So I can't help but notice this lovely, are those lunch boxes behind you? Can you tell me more about that?
They are. Yeah, I have a hobby of collecting 1970s and 80s era metal lunchboxes from pop culture. So favorite TV shows. It's a less expensive hobby than collecting actual pop art, and I get to change them out whenever I want to. So that's my background.
Excellent. How long have you been working on this collection?
Not that long, probably the last 10 years. Mostly pick them up on eBay. I get them as gifts from my family members from time to time.
Okay, that was going to be my next question, because if you started your collection before eBay, I'd always be curious, like, how do you find these things? So.
I have a couple lunchboxes that I have from when I was a kid, but they're not in such great shape because I actually use them as lunchboxes. So these are the ones that are more the display-worthy ones.
Awesome. Love it. Well, I'm really excited to talk about your business growth and subsidiaries and get into some AI topics. So just to start out, you've grown steadily from a small team to a mid-sized boutique firm, along with subsidiaries. And so looking back, what were the most important decisions that you made that help you scale sustainably?
It's a great question. Yeah, so we started with 4 attorneys, 7 total people in 2010, and if you count the subsidiaries, the subs were probably around 120, but we have 48 lawyers. And I think it was really important for us to grow organically. We didn't acquire people with big books of business. We didn't go out to merge with other firms, although eventually we did bring on an AI firm, which we'll talk about later, I assume. But the idea was to grow 3 or 4 people a year maximum to really be able to keep our culture, be able to make sure that the people we were adding were people who really fit our model, which is really to take our work seriously, but not to take ourselves too seriously. So, we understand that there are a lot of people who practice law, who have good answers, who can do the job we do, although we think we have some specialists that are not found elsewhere. But it's really important for our clients to like us, to like working with us, and for us to like working together. And so we built a culture with that in mind.
And it comes up a lot too. And it depends on the area of law, but I hear this all the time with intellectual property attorneys where they're very, very good at technical expertise, but having the relationship with your client is half the battle, because even if you're the best attorney in the world, if you don't have good client service, if you're not proactive with your communication, so then you're not really serving your client the best, and you may not be able to hang on to them.
I think that's all true. I think the thing I'd add to that is to be practical. Like, what kind of advice would we want if we were in the client's position? Like, it doesn't really do any good to give them 10-page memo on what the law is and give them all the legal angles without giving them a recommendation. Like, if we were you, we would do X, Y, or Z. And a lot of big law firms don't train lawyers to give that kind of advice, but we do.
I've seen it too. So we're running business operations at law firms where, client asks a question and I feel like the attorney wants to address anything and everything, every aspect of that question. And it's like, well, the short answer is 90% of the time, this is what happens in practice, but here are a few caveats to be aware of. And those caveats can sometimes be like 3 pages of emails long. And so it's like, maybe start there and let the client ask a little more question, or just say, here's some caveats. Do you feel like that could be a concern? Another thing I see too is just the ivory tower advice. So I don't know if it's just this mentality of like, we want to protect our client from anything and everything under the sun. It's like, well, okay, but what's most likely to actually be something they need protection from? And like, what would they They may not have unlimited funds. Chances are they don't have unlimited funds. So reasonably, if you were in their shoes, like you said, what would you be paying for, and give your advice accordingly?
Yeah, I heard this expression from someone the other day. I'm going to repeat it, but I'm going to make clear that I didn't come up with it, but I think it's really right, which is that our job as outside counsel is not to help clients minimize risk. It's to help them calibrate risk. Like, what is it they want to do, and how do we figure out how to do it in a way that's within their risk tolerance? So I tell lawyers all the time when they're, young lawyers who are here, imagine the client didn't ask you, can I do something? The client asked you, how do I do something? And they're looking for the answer of how they can execute it, not whether they can execute it or not. And so that's, one way to make the advice more practical. If you are going to do this, we would recommend you do it this way. And that could be something like sending notice to customers that you might be updating the privacy policy. It could be putting a tool on a website that says, you can control your information sharing this way, sort of practical ways to merge the technology aspects, like what are you going to do with what the legal requirements are.
That is great advice. I like that. Calibrated. So I know too, in building your firm, you've been very culture forward. It sounds like it's integrated throughout your practice. It's something you've been very intentional about. How did you get started with the culture, and what does that look like? How do you maintain it?
Yeah, so maintaining it is definitely a very conscious effort. I say there's two ways we maintain it. One, we define it. We say what we are, like what we're about. We don't try to just define ourselves by what we're not, like, hey, we're not big law, right? We define ourselves by what we are. We're a community that, values collaboration. We value interesting projects. We value giving back. We're a group of people who are generally grateful for the situation we're in, where we get to do something we love with people that we like doing it with. So we reinforce our values by talking about them, and then we actually come up with values that we integrate into our review process. So rather than just evaluating people on how good their memos were, how well they argued in court, we evaluate people on what type of firm citizen they were, how much were they there for their neighbors, did they, come through in a collaborative way, did they surprise and delight our clients. We try to put our values in a way that we can live them. And as a values-based firm, we then merge that into everything we do, including with personnel evaluations. And we also do a training program at the very beginning called the ZwillGen Way, which everybody here, lawyers or staff, goes through, sometime in the first 3 months after they join the firm, which helps define all these things, which talks about the way we do things and the way we don't do things, and how we expect people to have a creative aspect to their practice of law, and to prioritize an entrepreneurial spirit, and to think of ways in which we can serve our clients better, and to speak up and improve the processes they see. We're not interested in people saying, hey, yeah, this is great. We're interested in people saying, hey, I like this, but it would be better if we did this, and sharing those ideas. That's what helps keep the culture sort of fresh and dynamic.
So do you feel like, too, as part of the culture, you have a safe space for people to provide that feedback on changes?
I think we do. We try to do that in several different ways. We have a all-hands meeting every Monday. We've had it for 15 years. To go back to my point about not taking ourselves too seriously, we make everybody on their first day of the firm tell a joke at that all-hands meeting to just continue with that atmosphere that we can sort of be relaxed in that meeting. And then we have time in that meeting where we talk about process improvements. We talk about what's going on in the firm. We solicit ideas, but not everybody's going to speak at an all hands meeting. So then we have other times to do that. We have a retreat every year that we bring the entire firm on, attorneys, staff, everyone. And in that retreat, we have a brainstorming session for the staff, a brainstorming session for the attorneys, and then one where we all come together and talk about what the ideas were. And then we kind of set our agenda for the next year in part based on those brainstorming sessions. And when people see that, they want to speak up, because they know if they speak up, it will be on the dashboard the next year. And if they don't speak up, it won't be. So we try to do different things to get people encouraged to share their ideas and show that we'll action them. There's not 20 committees here. There aren't 1,000 people to go through. If we hear a good idea, we'll act on it.
I appreciate that you tell a joke on day one. It can always be a little nerve-wracking, no matter who you are, right? You always want to make a good impression. You still don't know the culture of the firm or how people are going to react. And it could be a little awkward to give a background on yourself and just brag for a few minutes. So it's kind of a fun little icebreaker. I appreciate, though, too, that for your retreats, you're bringing your staff, because I have also heard firms who will bring their attorneys, they'll bring their leadership. And so to actually bring the entire company, speaks volumes about your culture as well. And so you're getting staff feedback and they're incorporated. Do you feel like they feel that they're incorporated into the firm and have just as much of a voice?
That's the feedback we get, that they do feel that way. They love the retreats. Probably staff speak at the retreats even more than the attorneys because we program the day that way. And one of the messages that we really convey in from onboarding all the way through the review process is that we're all part of the team, and not one part of the team is more valuable than the other. And so imagine that we didn't get our bills out, right? Like, the firm would have no revenue, but who are the people who get the bills out? It's not the attorneys. Yeah, we look at them, we edit them, but the entire process of getting the rates approved and getting the bills out and collecting the money, that's done by a group that is probably as important, if not more important, to the continuing function of the firm than the people doing the work. But we all have our roles to play. The people who don't fit in well here are sort of big law refugees who came from a very hierarchical environment where they think the staff's job is to make their life easier. And we say, no, all of our jobs is to make everybody's life easier. If the billing team says, I need your bills reviewed a day earlier because we have so much work to do this month, lawyers should stop what they're doing and review the bills and treat it just like if a client said, I need to have a call with you at 8 p.m., something urgent's happened, because we have to make our lives, together better. And so we try to get that message across as much as we can as part of our culture, that we're a collaborative environment, not just for the attorneys, but for everyone.
Yeah. And I have seen firms too talk about their culture where it's like, is it a client first culture or is it a firm first and an employee first culture? And, we'd all like to say, well, we do both and we want to do both well. But if you've heard of the even overs, like this even over that, if you had to pick one or the other, which would you choose? And it's an interesting conundrum for a law firm because really, the gut feeling for a lot of attorneys and a lot of staff are like, oh, client first, we have to take care of them. But if you don't take care of each other, then you don't have clients to take care of either. And you can't best service them unless you make sure that you have a cohesive effort in getting bills out, for example, and making sure that marketing efforts and intake and client service throughout the entire case is all just as seamless as you can possibly make it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that close to the call, frankly. And I know Walt may have clients listening to this, but I think it is, a colleagues first culture here. Clients can come and go. The clients who are like the number one clients 15 years ago are not necessarily the number one clients now, and vice versa. But what we have in common is that the average shareholder at our firm, we don't have partners, but we have shareholders. The average shareholder here has been here over 12 years, and we've only been around for 15. So people really like it here, and we're bonded together. And I think it's the bonding that we have with each other that helps us provide the best client service we can. One of the best compliments I've ever got from a client was after a webinar we put on. She said, I don't think I've ever seen a law firm project as much joy as you guys project in what you do. Like, you really seem to like each other and like what you're doing. And that is, to me, a secret of a fulfilling life, right? Like, you like what you're doing, you like the people you're doing it with, and we can be much better with our clients because of it. Yeah, there are moments where a client will come first in that given moment and be like, hey, could we move that meeting we had at 4 to tomorrow because the client really needs this time? But usually the person says, yes, we can. And if they said, no, I can't, it has to be today, then we wouldn't have the client call necessarily.
I completely agree. I think it's interesting that if your goal is really to, let's say if you had to pick one or the other, to put your fellow employees first, the outcome of that is your clients might feel like they are number one just because they're actually just being better serviced and people are happier. They're not feeling guilty for asking for help from, a colleague or feeling like they just are a lesser being or something of that nature. And so, but yeah, I mean, that's another question that comes up sometimes is if you are intentional about your culture, do people like it? Because I've worked in firms too, where we have kind of a head down mentality, still enjoy each other, still take care of each other, but it's less of an intentional culture. And it's more of one that's like, well, if you show up and do your job, then so that is just that. And there are some individuals who like that, but I personally enjoy the cultures too, where I have fun with colleagues and don't take yourself too seriously all the time. So I could see how you're attracting and retaining your people for so long.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's kind of like the Eric Maslow hierarchy of needs or pyramid of needs that we're sort of taught in self-psychology towards self-actualization. Like, you have to take care of some basic parts of the pyramid to reach actualization, and you have to take care of some of those basic parts of blocking and tackling and building the culture before you can provide the best advice to clients. But what we don't like from clients is when they get in these outside counsel guidelines that say only one lawyer on a matter, you can't talk to each other, you can't, two people can't attend internal meetings. And I say is that really what you want? Because we don't want to practice that way, and you don't get the best advice that way. And if you're doing it for cost, let's find another way to bill you, right? Because we're not believers that the hourly billing model is the best model. For 15 years, we've been trying to get more clients away from it. And clients typically are the ones that are, the accounting departments want to see hourly justification. But if the reason you don't want us to talk to each other is you don't want to be billed twice, let's move to a flat fee or a monthly fee so you won't be billed twice, but we'll get the benefit of collaboration and you'll get the benefit of us, bouncing ideas off each other. And that's what I use to try to move us off the hourly model.
Yeah, let's talk more about this hourly model, and especially with AI coming of age, right? Maturing rapidly and becoming every day more and more useful. You being at the forefront of that. So how has AI impacted your desire or your conversations about moving away from an hourly billing model into maybe flat fee or some other alternative model?
Yeah, I think it's accelerating them. We've always, if you read our billing philosophy on our website, which was posted, I think, in 2011 or 2012, we've always been pushing away from the hourly model. Why have a model that incentivizes inefficiency? We should be aligned completely with our clients that we should give good advice and get them the outcomes they want in the most efficient way. But as I said, there's a lot of resistance to it. And clients want to, at least accounting departments or procurement departments want to make sure people are getting value, and there's no way to measure value in outcomes. So we try to move to monthly retainers, which is, we understand the amount of work a client will generally need in a year in our areas, and we bill them, on a monthly basis, and we don't adjust that or true it up unless it's way off, more than 25% off over a quarter. But AI is putting firms in the position where they're trying to create value based on their knowledge base and deliver that knowledge to the clients in a way that can't be measured on an hourly basis. And so the more that the big firms think, hey, we can't capitalize on AI unless we change our billing model, the easier it will be for the rest of the industry to come along. Clients will hopefully realize some cost savings from the use of AI, and firms will realize some efficiency because they'll be being paid for their ability to generate good answers and not for how long it takes them to generate those answers.
It's fascinating to me that you're getting pushback from clients. I mean, I guess the mentality is like, well, how do I know I'm getting my value out of you? And maybe that is more inside like privacy and security law, as opposed to your point, you're talking about big laws adopting AI in like different models. I've also seen contingency fees, personal injury law firms. I've talked to several of them that are very hungry to adopt AI. And it makes sense because your fee's not going to change depending on whether you're more efficient or not. From a flat fee arrangement, that makes sense too. And so depending on the appetite to be more efficient to make your flat fee go much farther, ideally that would be there. But the hourly billing model, so outside of law, right? There's a lot of companies, myself included, where I can calculate my value based on the impact I'm having for a company. And that could be in terms of revenue. It could be in terms of a number of things. Some of that value could be more intangible, where you can't directly tie my services to a specific outcome as far as what it means financially. Do you feel like in your area of law, is that kind of the concern underlying why clients are less willing to make a jump to flat fees?
Yeah, I think that's part of it. I think where we have seen clients do it is in a litigation success fee context. So, okay, charge me 30% less, but if you win the case, I'll give you a premium. Like they've been willing to do that because it's very measurable. We either won or we didn't win, or we settled or we didn't settle. Those clients have been happy to do that. We need regular counseling from you, and we don't know how much we need, and we don't know when we'll need it. Why don't you just bill us hourly? That's where they've been most reluctant. And what we say to them is, okay, but after 3 months or 6 months, we'll have a general sense of how often you contact us and what your needs are. And then why don't we smooth that over the next 6 months on a monthly basis? Because I don't want them to feel the clock's ticking every time they call, because it makes them reluctant to call. And I certainly don't want the pressure of not being able to go next door and ask my colleagues what they think of an issue, because then there'll be, another entry on the bill. So I think it's in every anybody's interest. CFOs want it. They want budget smoothing. They want to know, they don't want unpredictable expenses.
Your work in progress when you're trying to figure out, because I've been on the CFO side, right? Where it's just like, how much money are we bringing in? What's our backlog? Like, what's our runway right now? It's awful. There's a reason why a lot of companies outside of law love the subscription model, right? Like, hey, it's going to be $500. It's going to be $10,000 a month, whatever. Instead of $8,000 one month and $20,000 another, it's nice to have consistency. But I worked in a flat fee firm for 10 years and I could see the value of not just the mentality of like, oh my gosh, I have to track every single little thing I'm doing. And if I don't do it, then I'm robbing the firm and myself of bonuses potentially. And not because I'm trying to, it's just capturing all that time is mind boggling. I would rather charge feasibly a little less and not have to do all of that tracking.
Well, that's true too. Like we often get an agreement to a flat fee and then a demand that we track the hours anyway, so they can compare what it is they're paying, what they would have paid hourly. And then we have to do all of that tracking, and it defeats some of the point of the flat fee. But it's a nut that AI may crack, right? Because until now, the hourly model's been here. AI may change the nature of these discussions. So, we're all building AIs based on our knowledge that we've put together over time, our memos, our emails, and then we have a place to go for answers. And if we're on an hourly basis, there's very little incentive to build that and deliver it to clients, but clients would really want that. So that's why I think AI may crack this nut in a way that it hasn't been, but I don't think it's going to be everything across the board. It may move 20% flat fees to 40 or 50% flat fees, but I doubt the billable hour is going away for good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that transpires over time. So be curious. So AI, you guys, your firm has been experimenting with it, pilots using it. What kind of tools are you using? What are you seeing be successful and what are you seeing maybe not be as successful?
So a couple words about AI. We have a little bit of an advantage here. We did bring in several attorneys and data scientists from an AI law firm. And I don't mean the firm was run by AI. I mean, the whole law firm was set up to help people test their AIs, make sure they were working, to red team them, to do bias testing. So we added them. And so we have an internal resource that's different than a lot of firms have with regard to AI. But that doesn't mean we're all the way at the finish line by any means. We have been, piloting and beta testing different forms of AI that are out there for law firms. We have been developing our own AI, especially for certain repetitive type projects like subpoena compliance, where we have a group of analysts who have to process subpoenas on a regular basis and have to analyze them and determine what data is being requested and produce it to law enforcement. So we've developed our own AI to roll out in that area to see how it works. So we've been thoughtful, move all of our documents into a place where AI can, ultimately look at them and read them and analyze them. But we're not there yet. AI is evolving so fast. We've been doing more advice to clients about how they can adopt AI than we've perfected our own AI systems.
That's not that uncommon. Sometimes it's the plumber's pipes that need help. So
yeah, I mean, we had a development project in the works and we beta tested a couple, internal AI tools like the Harveys of the world, but we're not fully committed to a path yet, except in the subsidiaries.
Yeah. So these subsidiaries, what drew you to wanting to scoop them up? And I know a lot of law firm owners out there who may be listening now too, are interested in expanding, not just in practicing law, but being business owners in other capacities.
Yeah, I think it was listening to our clients. Like they were having pain points that were different than the pain points that we traditionally could serve. So let me use subpoena compliance as an example. As a law firm, we help clients look at the data demands they get from the federal government and determine, are they appropriate? Should we object to them? Are they asking for the right data? Are there parts of it that we need to, file a motion to quash? But when it was accepted, then they need a team of trained analysts and paralegals to process them, to go pull the data that's responsive to the request, get it ready for production, produce it, run the case file. And that didn't make sense to do at law firm rates. But they were having trouble hiring in-house people who were sufficiently trained, getting them up to speed. And then what happens when somebody wants to take leave or people churn? And it was just a constant battle. We said, wait, this is a service we can provide. We have people who run these teams. We can build a team that team can be your outsourced subpoena compliance service. And then we can offer that at a different price model because we will pay differently in that environment and we will price it differently. And that's what we did. So we didn't scoop it up as much as build it from scratch. We now have 50 people in the subpoena subsidiary. And then in the gaming one, we realized that after we gave clients advice, and these are sportsbook operators or data providers to operators about when they needed to get licensed, then somebody had to help them get licensed, which means like, to put it simple, getting like, a bartender's license, you have to be fingerprinted and provide all sorts of financial information and before you're going to get a liquor license. Well, gambling licenses are that on steroids. So we built a subsidiary to help people do the licensing where you didn't need lawyers to fill out the forms and collect the information, but it is a service that the companies badly needed.
People don't think about the business licensing, but I am somebody who has filed into multiple states to do business registration. People don't understand, like, to register as a foreign LLC or whatever in another state to practice law or to practice engineering, whatever, to do gambling. There's a lot of paperwork that goes into the background. So I could see the need for that. And also it doesn't make sense for an attorney necessarily to do so much of the paperwork, but it's important paperwork and it must be done correctly, especially in a highly regulated realm. You can't just throw it together and hire someone from another country and just hope it's okay.
It's also very confidential. Like if you're a gambling operator, the CEO has to disclose their finances and they don't want to disclose that to people who work for them in the same organization. So by outsourcing it, you get a layer of security and privacy that you might not get internally. And then you get somebody watching the updates and, you have to update that material from time to time and you have new hires and they have to get licensed and people depart. And there's just a lot of maintenance for that. And this sub takes care of it. So again, it's listening to our clients. What's your pain point? How do we solve it? And we can't solve it through the traditional law firm model effectively, but we can solve it with a different model.
It's amazing. Good food for thought, too, if somebody's looking at their own operation and trying to figure out how they can solve that problem.
Sure. If you have a banking practice, banking regulatory practice, maybe there's an opportunity to do a very similar thing and keep that work. Whereas if you don't do that, maybe it goes to consultants, right? The law firm loses it. Some external consultant comes in at a high rate and charge, and they don't have the same tie to the law firm or can work together as seamlessly, but a law firm sub might be the answer for that.
It's a good point, too. So then fast forward to today, it seems like things are going pretty well at the firm. Are there any business challenges that you're dealing with now, especially when looking at your goals for the next couple of years?
It's a great question. What's on our roadmap? We want to expand in some areas where we don't have enough capability to serve clients now and they keep coming back and asking for it. So, there's, for example, our transactional practice. Clients wanted us to look at the privacy and security provisions of agreements. And they said, but I don't like to go to two law firms. I want you to look at privacy and security, but can't you do the whole agreement? And they were like, no, we can't. We don't have transactional lawyers. We don't have a form book. We don't have relevant clauses. Like that wouldn't be a good idea. But then we decided we should do something about that. So we hired some people to sort of grow out that transactional side of the practice. So it's always identifying things that we can't serve and figuring out if there's an opportunity and a benefit to doing that. And then, rates are always an issue with clients, like getting rate approvals, how often we lock our rates for 2 years, solidly. So when we do bill hourly, we have 2 tiers of rates for experienced attorneys and less experienced attorneys. We don't have individual rates per attorney, but we lock them for 2 years. And then every 2 years we have to raise them. And then clients are like, you're raising them too much. We're like, well, we haven't raised them in 2 years and they're blended across the tiers, but that is always a business challenge of trying to, people want more salaries, people want bonuses, people want the things that the firm provides. We have to raise the rates. Clients don't want the rates to go up, especially in an AI environment. And so that's on the horizon is something we have to deal with as well.
Have you tried just adding value too? So that was kind of the trick that I've used in the past, because in theory, you can always raise your rates so long as you're offering your value stack, what it is you have to provide to clients, they're getting more and more value out of it. Now, it depends too if you're doing like a 3% kind of inflation thing, which ticks people off, just generally speaking, myself included, when I'm paying for things, versus like trying to provide something more substantive.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. One of the things we did in our subscription models, which again, We'd like to never be on hourly rates if we could avoid it. But in our subscription models, when California came out with a new privacy law called the CCPA, and all the clients were asking us questions about it, like, why do we need to bill clients individually for answering the same questions we answered before? Why don't we find a way to create a subscription product? And we did that for 2 years. We had a subscription where we would get on a webinar every month. We would talk about all the developments in the law, the changing regs, how to comply. We would deliver a deliverable every month with every webinar about here's the form you need for this, or here's a process to do this. And we'd let them have an hour or two call with us as part of the subscription to ask any questions they wanted. But to have 1 or 2 hour calls to give the same information to all the clients at the same time seemed inefficient to us, and the clients didn't need that. What if they could all get it together in the same hour and then they could ask their follow-up? So we built a CCPA subscription, and that was very popular for 2 years when things were changing rapidly.
Amazing. Marc, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, and interesting insights from culture and business growth to AI and different billing models. So if listeners wanted to find out more about you or your firm or your subsidiaries, where should they go?
They can reach out to me directly at my email address is Marc, M-A-R-C, at ZwillGen, ZwillGen.com. Be happy to continue the conversation with your listeners and with you anytime. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Enjoyed our conversation. And for listeners out there too, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.